Hi y'all, it's Annelies, and I got COVID. I am on my first day free of isolation. I am, I guess according to the NHS, COVID free. They said if by 10 days of isolation after that, if you are symptom free, then you're free from isolation. So today was my first day I left the house and saw the sun not through a window in 10 plus days. So that's great. I'm feeling better. Yahoo. I wanted to make a video talking about my experience because that's what the internet is for. It's for, one, making videos that you want to make and making things that you want to make, but two, like, talking about your life and things, and that's what I like to do on my channel. I like to talk about tech, but I also like to talk about my life and share my experience as somebody who is double vaccinated, who got COVID during this time in the UK, because I'm also living in the UK now. If you want to hear about the last 10 plus days of my life, I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you stay healthy and never have to live through the experience that I lived through, because it sucked kind of a lot. Let's start with, like, the beginning, because that's a great place to start. So, how did I find out I had COVID? I'm gonna throw a disclaimer in here real quick. I'm not a medical expert. I'm not an expert on COVID. There's probably a lot of things that I don't know. I just know that it sucks, and I know that you should be vaccinated and wear your mask, and yeah. I'm just speaking from my experience as a human, not as a medical professional. Anyway, so our school, because of all the rising cases and yada yada, what have you, they started saying that it was mandatory for us to be tested before coming into school, before going to class, which I'm 100% on board, and I wish we were doing it the whole time because our school and our teachers have had cases of COVID this term alone. So, with that in mind, since mid-November, I've been taking like almost daily tests, normally not on the weekend because I typically don't leave my house, but every day before I go to school, I'm taking a test because I can't go into class if I don't, because my teacher will ask, and I show them, and boom, ka-chow. One of the wonderful things about the UK is the NHS, and what's wonderful about the NHS is the accessibility to tests. This all starts on Saturday the 11th. And I don't know why, because like I said, I've been spending most of my weekends at home. I just haven't been testing on the weekends, but for some reason, I felt compelled to take a test on Saturday, and it came back negative. I didn't feel like I needed to. I felt totally fine. I just don't know why, but I took a test and it was negative. Cool beans. Then Sunday rolls around, and I have kind of a sore throat, and I just kind of felt odd, but I more so attributed it to the fact that the weather here has been really weird. The weather jumped 15 degrees between Friday and Monday, and it was kind of all over the place, and so I was like, oh, I just got a sore throat because of the weather. And I wear my mask all the time at school. Literally, a lot of people have said the comment to me, not only who are knowing me here in the UK and like going to school with me, and then like from back home, when I told them that I got COVID, they were like, you of all people blows my mind because you're the one who's always using your hand sanitizer. I'm always wearing my mask. Anyway, I don't know why I went on that tangent, but there it was. So Sunday, sore throat, whatever, and I was just like, yeah, I'm just not feeling good. So I take a test, and it came back negative. So I was like, yeah, see, my suspicions were right. The weather's being weird. It's just a weird weather thing. Woke up in the morning for my last week of my term, and we had this like kind of special project we were doing with the director. So I wasn't gonna have to be at school that much this week, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna like, you know, pop over to school, do a thing, and go run some errands, boo-be-doo-doo. Great. Because that's how I talk to myself. And I like was getting ready and I was like, oh no, oopsie doopsie, forgot to take my test. Let me take my test real quick. Bah, bah, bah. Okay, getting ready, yada yada yada. All that we need at my school, because we're a really small school, is to just take a picture of this guy. Photos time-stamped, and we're all on the honor system here, but none of us are against taking tests. So like, take that as you will. So I'm just like, took my test, and I'm about to walk out the door, and I had my backpack on and my shoes on and all these things, and I go, oops, forgot to take my picture. Turn to go take a picture of the test like I've done for like the last 3 weeks, and it was this guy. And that is a positive result, ladies and germs. Now, as you can tell on this test here, the second line, the bottom line, hello, come on, focus for me, baby. So, as you can tell, this bottom line, that is the one that is like, tells you that it's positive, and it's really faint. And so I felt like in one of those like Lifetime movies where the teenage girl gets pregnant and she's like hoping that she's not. I'm thinking particularly of Saved with Mandy Moore, and she like thinks she's pregnant and she goes and takes the test and she's sitting there going, I hope it's cancer, I hope it's cancer. Anyway, so she's sitting there like desperately not wanting to be pregnant because she like goes to this crazy Christian school and all these things or whatever. And like she looks at the test and it's positive and her whole world shatters before her. I had one of those moments, except it was with COVID. And I was just like, you gotta be forking kidding me. Like literally, I remember just backing away and just going, what are you, what do you, no, this is not real. This is not real. So I took another test and I believe that was this one. And as you can tell on this test, that is a way deeper red line. Like there's no doubt about it. And also within like 10 minutes, both lines were red. And I was just like, what do I do? And so I'm just shitting bricks at this point. I already had a couple breakdowns. Yeah, so this is gonna be my home for the next 10 days. I mean, it's gonna be my home for the next 2 years, but I'm not leaving these walls. I don't wanna tell my mom. And I do my class and I'm still feeling like fine. Like I've got my sore throat and what have you, but I'm just like, okay. And I obviously told all my roommates and I was like, I just tested positive, take tests, like I'm gonna be locked up in my room until I know for sure. I call the NHS and that's not a phone, this is a phone. I'm sorry, I'm an improviser. Space object work is very important to me. So I called the NHS and they were like, okay, cool, we'll send the PCR, which I don't know what that stands for, but we'll send the PCR test to your house. That's like the big boy test. That's the one that like tells you for sure. So click. Hang up with them. And then I'm just kind of sitting there and they had told me that the test wasn't going to arrive for 2 days. And I'm like, I cannot do that. So I go on the website and I see that the nearest testing location, originally the lady on the phone told me this and I was like, no, I'm not going to walk that far. But the nearest testing location was 5 miles from me, which secondly, I thought the UK worked in kilometers. Anyway, so 5 miles from me and I'm just like, that's a 2-hour walk. Am I really going to do this? And then after sitting here in my anxiety bubble and just going, I don't know the fate of my life and I feel like I'm in a ticking time bomb and I need to know what the frick is gonna happen to me. I don't want it to just happen. I want to like be knowing it's happening. I was like, well, screw it. I guess I'm walking 5 miles there and then 5 miles back to go take this test in a parking lot. And thus begun my journey. And I'll insert some clips here. I don't have anything to do till 5 and it's on Zoom. So even if I'm not home by then, I can still go sit idly somewhere and have a meeting with my teacher. Supposedly, if I get the test taken now, I'll know by tomorrow morning for sure. I think this is probably my favorite block of lockdown of like modern meets English. That one's really pretty. I love that one. That one's very pretty. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. I had this moment where I was about to leave my house and my cane hangs right by my door. If y'all don't know, I have a chronic disability, hip and knee problems from an accident. It's a good time. There's a video about it. Go watch it wherever it is. I'm really proud of it. Anyway, so I see my cane and I go, should I bring my cane? And the stupid part of my brain said, nah, you'll be fine. And so I was like, nah, I'll be fine. And then I start walking and this entire journey is essentially like this. And I was like, ma'am, what is happening? What is happening in the world? So anyway, I get there, and here's the other thing, because I'm a Looney Tune. I brought cough drops with me, but I also brought Jolly Ranchers with me, because 2 nights before, in some weird, like, the internet or the universe was laughing at my face or wanted to make me extra anxious. I don't know what it was, but I came across a video of this girl talking about her parosmia that she has, which is the loss of the sense of taste and smell that she got from COVID when she got it like early 2020 before vaccines, all that stuff. And she still has no sense of taste or smell. And she was just talking about how her life is a living hell. And so I was like, oh my God, my biggest fear. Not because I love food, just because I don't want my life to be a living hell. So because I'm a genius, big brain over here, I threw a whole bunch of Jolly Ranchers and cough drops into my backpack. So that way throughout the entire journey, I had a candy in my mouth. So that way I would know if or when I lost my sense of taste or smell. Luckily, spoiler alert, it didn't ever happen, so that's amazing. But that's just me, and that's how my brain works. So anyway, take the journey over there. Cute houses decorated for Christmas. Oh my gosh, I was like enjoying the driveways, and it was a part of town I'd never seen before, so that was really nice. Yeah, I was just like trying to enjoy the walk as best as I could. The weather was much warmer. I could have left my coat at home. That was a thing that I was very annoyed with. It was like the warmest it's been in like a month, and of course it's the day that I'm walking 5 miles somewhere. So get there, take my test. My hip hurts so bad. That is the biggest, longest, widest terrain I've walked since being here. But I finally made it to the testing site, so if you see this, then it wasn't good news. And then on my journey back, and at this point my joints are starting to hurt, and I think the body aches overall were probably already kicking in, like the teensiest bit, but I think because of my typical joint pain from doing something as strenuous as walking 5 miles like up and downhill, I think like that was taking over the actual sensation of the body aches. And I was at a point where I was like, I know I cannot take an Uber home, like this is my only journey home is to walk, because I'm probably positive I can't expose anybody else. I am just walking home, and just like if I stop for a second, if my shoelace comes untied, I'm taking off my shoes, because I can't stop or else I will not be able to start again. My body was in so much pain. On my way home. I'm just looking forward to having a great big cry when I get home. So I'm like going down the high street in my area and like dodging people like a game of Frogger, because I was like, I can't be within 10 feet of these people. I have my mask on the entire time and I'm just like dodging people because I'm like, I needed to do this for my own like sanity and well-being, but like people stay away from me. And then of course by the time I was heading back, it was like there's like 2 elementary schools by me and they got out of school, and I was like, come on God, like who is up there just like, I'm gonna screw you over in every way possible, I'm just gonna give you so much anxiety. I get home and thus begins my isolation. I had a FaceTime date that evening with my friend George. We were like talking, and it was like through the progression of our phone call, I just started feeling worse and worse and worse. I don't know if my phone woke me up or if I just woke up, but at like 3 a.m. I checked my phone, and sure enough there was a text saying that I was positive. That's kind of how that all got started. The crazy thing is I was trying to trace back when I could have possibly gotten it, and I don't know when that was. Like I legitimately don't know. Saturday and Sunday I was home, and I got dinner with a friend on Friday night, but he didn't test positive. If I would have gotten it on Friday, like he absolutely would have gotten it. We shared an Uber at a point. So I'm almost certain it wasn't on that day. I have my theory, and out of respect for the people who I think I got it from, I'm just gonna leave that theory out because it doesn't do any good. But for my own theorizations, I have a theory how I got it, and I'm gonna say you can only do so much. There's a certain point where things are out of your control and you cannot control everybody around you. So I'll leave it at that. Like I said, I'm double vaccinated, so I was like still scared, don't get me wrong, especially because I recently had one of my best friends lose a loved one to COVID, literally like 2-3 weeks before. My sister got COVID in the summer of 2020 and is still dealing with it. It's a very soft spot for a lot of people and for me, and so I was going into this isolation scared, very scared. That was kind of like the start of it, which I feel like is the thing that everybody really wants to know about. I started feeling bad on the 13th, and 14th, 15th were like the worst days. The 14th was like achy, every joint. I could feel every like connection between my vertebrae and like my shoulders and my fingers, and like just every joint was just inflamed and screaming at me and in so much pain. My hips and knees were like screaming at me. I don't know if my pain was emphasized because of my existing joint issues. Yeah, not a fun time. So that was the 14th, and I was also like feeling like shit. And then on the 15th was the day of like, I feel sick and like I can't focus on anything, and I had to do this like rehearsal class thing with these directors like I was mentioning, and at one point I told her, she asked me how I was doing, and I was like, I'm focusing on 2 things: trying to understand the words coming out of your mouth and retain them, and not throw up. Those are the 2 things that my brain power is focused on right now. And she was like, okay, gotcha. And so yeah, that was also not fun, having to like do 2 to 4 hour rehearsals during like my worst days. Definitely like 0 out of 10 would not recommend having to go to school while having COVID, even if it's virtual. Yeah, but anyway, we did that, and so that's just a fun, super fun time that I had to experience. Anyway, so then comes the 16th, and I'm still feeling like not good. But the difference between the 16th and the other days is that I was able to like stand upright long enough to where I felt like I could go upstairs and take a shower. So I took my first shower of And the thing is I woke up late on Monday and I was like, I'm just gonna put some dry shampoo in my hair and then take a shower as soon as I come back from the rehearsal. I'm only gonna be there for 2 hours, it'll be fine and I'll come take a shower. And then that never happened. So I actually didn't shower since Sunday. So it was like 5 days since I had showered, and I hate that so much. Finally, on the 16th, I was able to shower. Oh my god, my hair was so gross and I just felt disgusting, and I like hadn't been able to wash my face in a freaking 5 days. I was so happy to finally clean my body, and I think that also made me feel better. Had I had access to like a private bathroom, I think I would have showered sooner, but the shower that I use is on the 3rd floor of my house, so that would mean I have to stand up long enough to get up 3 flights of stairs and then shower and then make my way down those stairs, and prior to that I did not feel good enough to do that. This just dawned on me. For the record, none of my roommates got COVID, so that's great. That day I was like feeling better, and at this point the only thing I had eaten, if I had eaten anything, was mandarin oranges, because nothing else, one, sounded appealing.
Get it? Peeling? Like you're peeling an orange?
It was involving having to prepare it, and so one day I went on Deliveroo, ordered like a couple of bags of oranges and some water and I think some Sprite, and was like, this is gonna be my life now. And I don't know if that helped me like not have as many days like that were like bad news bears, because I was just only eating vitamin C. Yeah, it was the only thing I could really stomach at the time. But that day I was feeling a little bit better, and I was like, okay, if I'm still feeling like this tomorrow, I am going to try to eat real food. And there are buffalo wings at a place nearby that are like my favorite wings that I found so far, and I was like, if I'm feeling better, I'm gonna order these freaking buffalo wings. Whatever, have my day. I'm just like sleeping. I was just sleeping so much. The next day, woke up and I was like, oh man, I feel like I'm gonna have wings tonight. And I was just hoping I was feeling better through the rest of the day. We had the performance for the thing that I had to do, and I was starting to feel so much more human, and I had my wings. I had my wings that evening, and this sounds ludicrous, but I was kind of thinking about it. I was like, well, if I get like spicy wings or whatever, maybe it will help like clear my sinuses because of the spice. So I was like, you know what? I've had crazier ideas. I was eating Jolly Ranchers all day, hoping that I was gonna lose my taste and just tracking my taste. Maybe buffalo sauce will clear out my face and my sinuses in my body and whatever. I don't know. I got my wings that night, and my mom was like, are you sure this is not too much food? This is gonna be too much. You're gonna overdo it. And I was like, no, I will not. Sure enough, I swear, I think I was right. Like, I was like, you know, when you get with wings, and it wasn't even that spicy. I've had these wings before. This normally doesn't have this effect on me, but I was just like, you know, doing the whole, my face was flushing out, and it was great. The wings were great. I felt so much better to actually eat something that wasn't an orange or goldfish, because my mom sent me goldfish in the last care package she sent me. And I was like, this is just amazing to not be eating goldfish or mandarin oranges.
Today has been the best day so far. I haven't checked in the last couple of days because I've been so poorly that I couldn't like bear to talk more than I needed to. Interesting things today, and I'm assuming it's because I haven't really stood up except more than just to walk to the bathroom once a day, but my calves and my quads are so, like, sore is the wrong word, weak, I don't even know. Okay, you know when you go to the gym and you work on a muscle for a really long time, and then you're going to the end of that workout and it's like you feel like your body is just shaking and it's just so, yeah, I guess it's sore? That's what it's like for me. But I'm assuming more so it's because I haven't been using those muscles, that they're so tired. I've just been in bed. So tomorrow, if I'm feeling good, I'm gonna try to maybe do some stretches or something. Like pace back and forth in my room just to get those muscles activated and stuff, because I don't want to just sit in my bed, but if I need to, I will. You know what I mean?
Kind of from there, every day, I was just like a little bit better. My cough was lessening just a little bit. I was sleeping slightly more regularly. I mean, I was waking up at like noon and going to bed at like 9 or 10 or something like that, but it's like I woke up and then I didn't feel like I needed to go back to sleep, because previous to that, every day I was just sleeping so much because I just couldn't bear to be be awake and just hoping that if I was sleeping, maybe I was gonna, you know, sleep it off and it would go away. And the more time I'm unconscious, the better, because I'm not feeling the horribleness of what I'm feeling. But yeah, every day I just kind of like tried to get out of bed because I spent so much time in this damn bed. And when I tell you I was so happy to wash my pillowcases today, oh my god. Clean pillowcases tonight, I'm so excited. I spent so much time in this bed. Like the first 3 days, I did not sit in my chair. The first 4 days, I didn't sit in my chair, didn't sit on my couch. I have a little sofa in here. But I was in this bed and just like bedridden. I felt like I couldn't sit upright, and I tried to sit upright, but then it would be like too much, and I'd be like balancing myself against pillows, and like I said, I could barely stand. So it's like I stood long enough to go to the bathroom, and then that was it. So it was just so brutal. So to finally be able to like escape this chamber that was my bed that I was just living in, I took. But I like would go sit in my office chair for just a little bit, and then like come back here, and I was like pacing myself a little bit, and I would go sit in my chair, and then I'd sit on my little sofa, and then I'd come sit back in bed, or I would like take a lap around my room just to kind of get my body used to being upright and vertical and having to balance my body and hold myself. I think that helped a little bit, just trying to move my body as much as it would allow without pushing myself to a point of regret, if that makes sense. I would say around like Friday, Saturday is also when I started like picking up my hobbies again. So I've got a Switch, and I was tending to my Animal Crossing a little bit here and there. I was kind of staying away from my phone, trying to at least. I was not responding to text messages because I just could not read or like come up with words. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Tuesday night, originally the deadline was Sunday night, but the school changed it, which once again, somebody was shining a light down on me. I had a deadline for a 3,000 word end of the term paper that was due on Tuesday that I was really starting to get anxious about, that I wasn't going to be able to work on at all. And I finally was able to like look at a screen long enough. Yeah, because I didn't start the Animal Crossing stuff until a couple of days ago. I take that back. I'm reversing everything I just said. So I started with my knitting. I got a lot done on my knitting project. I finished this whole pink section, and then I started on the blue part, or the teal part. Very happy with that. And then when I was like, okay, because I've been knitting since I was like 9 or 10, so I don't have to look anymore. Sometimes I do, but it was like nice to not focus on a screen or a light. I would just like listen to a podcast and either look at it or just stare out into space and not look at it. And once again, doing something with hand-eye coordination with my body, recalling a thing I know how to do well, like that was really nice. And then when I felt like I could start like reading and responding to like the 30 text messages that were on my phone, I had enough strength to text some people and be like, hey, I'm sick, I have COVID, here's the dealio, I'm gonna be MIA. Like I had enough for that, but I did not have a lot to write people back. So once I started being able to like look at my screen more, I started reading again. And actually on my last day of isolation, which was yesterday, I finished this book. This is The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. It's the first John Green book I ever read, and it's more of like a memoir storytelling. Oh yeah, okay, it says Essays on a Human-Centered Planet. I absolutely loved it, and there was something very poetic about finishing it on my last day of isolation. But I started reading this a lot, and that was a really nice thing to kind of like help me escape being stuck in this room. By the way, I'm so grateful for this room and the size of it, especially in a time like this. So anyhoozle, once I could start staring at a screen and like words long enough, I then started working on my paper. And I'm just so grateful that the deadline got moved for reasons not related to me. As I was working on it, on the first day, I was doing like 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off. And I was like, this is a good routine. Like, this is how I'm gonna be able to get this paper done super easy, and it's gonna be great and whatever. And there was this weird phenomenon that was happening that like my shoulders and my hands and my arms, it specifically my left shoulder, felt like it was so weak that I couldn't even type. My arm would be like start like shaking. It was like my shoulder was like shaking from the pressure of having to type, and not the pressure of like the dooming looming pressure on me, like the pressure of my hands having to touch keys and type and be in a certain position for really long. It's like my hands would just start kind of shaking, but like from my shoulder joint. It was the weirdest thing, and the only thing I can think of is that because I just hadn't really used any muscles, and especially those muscles, my typing muscles, in like a week, and I was just so drained that maybe that's why I couldn't type. But that was a really weird side effect that I was not expecting, and it was really frustrating because I'm normally a person that things come to me like rather easily, especially with the thing that I knew I was working on. I don't have difficulty typing for a long time, but oh my gosh, my stamina stamina was like 20 minutes at best. And I ended up taking like the rest of the day off, and then I kind of got to working on it later. And I couldn't really do voice to text because that's not how my brain thinks when I'm typing. So that was also really frustrating too. Once again, having COVID while doing school, not a good time. Really weird that my body just like didn't want me to type, didn't have the strength to type. Like, I don't know what the deal was, but it was just like such a, like, there's no other way to put it, of like a weird, unique experience of like typing was too much exertion of energy on my body, and that I just like straight up wasn't able to do it, which is really weird. Luckily, the next day that all had kind of like subsided. So there was that. What else? And then I started playing Animal Crossing more. Oh yeah, I started having the energy, one, not only to shower, but like I was changing my clothes almost every day, which once again, that does something to your psyche. Like, I braided my hair on like last Friday, and I remember feeling once again like $1,000,000 that my hair was not just in like a messy bun and looked disgusting because I hadn't showered in 5 days. It just made me feel so much better. Even the people on Zoom were like, you look better. And I was like, it partly has to do with the fact that my hair looks half decent, but also I feel better. So there was that. Picking up morale, feeling better, looking better. I would talk to my mom and she was like, wow, you actually look better. So being able to talk to people for longer. And then, like I said, at this point, my like cough is going away. I don't have body aches at all. I'm like able to eat real food. I was like getting delivery a lot because, like I said, it was way too much. Like, I felt horrible of the idea of asking my roommates to like make me some food. So spent a lot of money on delivery this week, which is not my favorite thing, but it is what it is. And so where does this story end? It was like Tuesday, and I was like, I think I'm gonna be able to get out of isolation, because what I was told by the NHS when you have to report to the, oh my gosh, you have to report to the NHS when you have COVID, like as you should, so that way they can do the track and trace and whatever. And when I tell you this thing, when I reported to the NHS, or when they told me that I was positive, they then had me fill out this online form that I swear was like 25 pages long. And when you are at the height of your sickness, having to stare at a screen and fill out like 25 pages, we're counting the last like week and a half of your life before you got sick, is very tiring and exhausting, and I freaking hated it. And I was going on a tangent for that too. Ah, that's why I brought it up. So I have another thing I wanted to mention. Monday night, I took a total of 3 COVID tests that all came back positive, or Monday during the day. Then in the evening, after I got back, after taking my PCR test, I don't know why, maybe I was just searching for some semblance of hope, I decided to take one more test. And would you look at that, it came back negative. So this is all to say, one, I knew, like, I was just searching for an answer that wasn't there. Honestly, I just needed anything to keep me positive. I was already positive. Anyway, I already had 3 positive tests, so I knew this didn't matter. Like, I knew it didn't, but there was something in it that gave me a slight twinge of hope that I think helped me get to bed that night. I don't know, because obviously I knew I was kind of about to see the eye of the storm soon, but I don't know. Like, there's a difference between like looking towards this thing that you know is gonna suck so bad. But I got this and I was like, maybe, no. Obviously 3 out of 4 tests being positive, I knew I was positive. But anyway, and now I can throw these away because I've literally been holding on to them for the sake of this video and I wanted to show them. So yay. Anyway, bad vibes out here. This is the personification of bad vibes. When I did the test and trace, they said that my isolation starts from the first day I was having symptoms. And since that was the 12th, my last day of isolation would be the 22nd. So as I was coming up, they were emailing me a lot, but they're like, as long as you don't have symptoms, you are free on the 23rd. And every day I was like, symptoms are starting to go away. My cough is almost gone. Like on the 21st, I was like, my cough is damn near gone. I was able to FaceTime a friend for the first time in 10 days. I was singing like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be in a good position. I'm very excited. And my mom was like, do not speak too soon. And I was like, listen lady, just let me have this. And then yesterday came along and I felt great and fantastic and no problemos. And I talked to another friend on FaceTime. The only thing that was weird is yesterday I had like a lot of phlegm in my body. It was really weird, and I just kept like having to cough to clear the phlegm in my throat, but I wasn't coughing because I was being made to cough, if that makes sense. That was promising, and then I woke up this morning feeling fantastic and like a new woman. Like, okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit there, and I didn't have a cough at all, and I was just like, I'm Every Woman started playing in the background as I started walking around my room, gathering my laundry, getting ready to clean and wash all my clothes and all my masks for when I went to the batheroom. There's like 20 masks right here. Every time I went to the bathroom, I put on a mask, and and then I like obviously wiped everything down, and then I'd throw my mask in my laundry bin because I was like, I'm not gonna breathe into the same thing again. Was that necessary? Probably not, but that's what made me feel sane, so just like let me have it. And today was grand. I left the house. I went grocery shopping because I had no groceries. I got McDonald's today and then just sat in my room and then decided to film this video, and here we are, the end of the story. So that's the last 12 days of my life and my experience getting COVID. Oh, another question that I have gotten a lot is, do you know what variant you had? No, because when you get a test, they don't tell you what variant you have. I don't know if that's something that they can tell you. They just tell you negative or positive. That's all that I've gotten. Like I mentioned earlier, I saw online that the sneezy, runny nose business was a symptom of the Omicron variant. I haven't had any of that, so I'm assuming I did not have that. Yeah. Also, funnily enough, that's word, like 2 days after I tested positive, Boris Johnson, good old Bojo, opened up boosters for anybody over the age of 18, which I'm just like, shakes fist at sky, dag nabbit. But I have to wait 28 days after the day of testing positive or the day of getting symptoms. I'll have to double check, but I have to wait 28 days before I can get my booster because medical reasons? I don't know, but I will be definitely getting that. What's my reflection after the last 12 days? Well, here's the thing. Do what you can, but not to be a pessimist, because I try to be an optimist, but you can do everything right and then still get sick. I'm debating on saying something. There are people who are very close in proximity to me that have partied since I've been here, I think every single weekend. Sometimes multiple times at different houses, big parties, small parties, all the different parties, and have not gotten sick. I have been wearing my mask in class, even though when there's opportunities that we're told we don't have to because you're the only one who's up there with one other person and we're all distanced and the windows are open, all these things, and I still wear my mask. And I've kind of been getting shit for it at school. I do all that. I sanitize. I know people look at me like I'm a lunatic whenever I leave a store or touch something and I say, anybody want hand sanitizer? Plenty of people turn me down on the hand sanitizer thing. There are so many things that you can do right and you still get sick. I guess I'm just saying this to say, looking back on my time with COVID, as somebody who is pro-mask and pro-vaccination and anti-COVID, I think everybody's anti-COVID, but I digress. As somebody who has been a advocate of those things, I say, get vaccinated, get your booster shot, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, do what you can, but also in kind of this very sad way. I don't want to say that there's nothing you can do, but there's a certain point where things are out of your hands. And if things get out of your hands, try not to feel guilty for that, because that's not going to do you any good. And I can try replaying the moments in my head 100 times and it's not going to get me anywhere except sad. So I choose not to play it, and I try not to play it because it's just not productive. So I hope anybody watching this video is never in my position. I hope you never have to call your mom and tell her that you got COVID when you're living more than 5,000 miles away from her and there's not a damn thing that she can do. That was a really scary phone call that I was not looking forward to. It felt very similar to the anticipation and like the pit in my stomach that I had when I had to call my mom and tell her I had gotten in my accident. So that was not fun. But I would just say, I hope you're never in my position, but if you are, unless if it's literally your fault and you went to like a concert, be gentle with yourself and just focus on healing, and then continue to do what you can to stay as safe as possible. Before this video ends, I figured it would be the appropriate place to put in a little post-COVID update like a month later. I just got my booster a couple of days ago because I was finally eligible and I'm feeling fantastic. I'm 2 days into the booster and I just have a little bit of soreness, but otherwise I'm good. But I figured it might be interesting to put in like how I'm doing a month later and if I've had any like post-COVID symptoms or whatever, and none that I know of. The only thing that, looking back after it was mentioned to me by a couple of my professors, is that they seem to think, and when I say a couple, it's two, and also keep in mind, these are not medical science professors, these are theater professors, but I'm just saying this to say it. I was talking to my professors about the fact that I've been having a really tough time not only sleeping, but I feel like I have this, like, for lack of a better term, brain fog when it comes to, like, my, honestly, just like a lot of things. There was even times editing this video where I caught myself staring out into space trying to figure out what I was saying more often than I would. and I know how I am when I film videos because I've been doing this for like almost a decade, so I know how I film videos, especially when they're just off the dome. I had a lot of moments of trying to like find my words and I just couldn't. Also with just, I've been having some really weird sleep, and I just will wake up multiple times throughout the night, and I'll be able to go back to bed pretty fast, but for no reason, waking up in the middle of the night. So it has been people suggesting potentially that that could be a thing. It could also just be that I'm in grad school. So I'm taking that with a grain of salt, but I definitely feel like there is the tiniest little twinge of brain fog. And once again, that could be a grad school thing, but I wasn't like that before I had COVID. And arguably, last term was a lot more hectic than right now. So yeah, but otherwise, I'm doing good. I am boosted, I got Pfizer, and I'm feeling great, and I'm grateful. And I am still wearing my mask. I am still hand sanitizing. I am, like I said in this video, I am controlling the controllables, because the most important thing to me is to be able to say that I did everything that I could. And even though I got COVID, I know I did everything that I could to not get it. And unfortunately, I still got it, and that's just life. But yeah, so please be well, be safe, and back to December, Annelies. 2021 Annelies. Wow. So yeah, there's that. Take it all as you will, but if you stuck around with me for this long, thank you so much for watching and hearing my little story, and I hope it was interesting, or I don't want to say educational because like I said, not a medical professional, but I hope it was interesting for you to hear. Thanks for watching. Before I go, thank you so much to my patrons. These are my top tier patrons. I haven't thanked them in a while because I haven't posted a video in a while, but these folks support me in my channel monetarily, which is just really awesome. And if you want to be a part of these people, see exclusive stuff, I post updates and behind the scenes stuff on my Patreon, but these folks just help support this thing that I love. So thank you to them, and thank you to all my patrons of past, present, and future. Otherwise, that is it for me. Stay beautiful, have a marvelous day, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye!